Running Node.js on your Windows 7 or 8 machine works out of the box. There's some things that, well, being on a Windows machine just don't work properly while using the command line. If you want to make your life easier, then you'll want to install ExpressJS. That is a framework that runs on top of Node.js and allows for easier development when you create Node.js websites. Node.js is a minimal and flexible web framework that provides a robust set of features for building web applications like single-page applications and multi-page and hybrid web applications. The installation of ExpressJS is pretty straightforward. Using the Node Package Manager, or NPM, you can simply type in the command npm info express and then the version you want to get it that way. If you need this, for instance, as part of a web application, you can retrieve it via the npm, typically inside a package.json file. Installing ExpressJS for the Node.js framework is about as easy as installing Node.js itself. So within our Windows 7 or 8 screen, we're going to open our command console again. So go to Start menu, run command, and we're going to type in npm install express. Now you could put in a version after this, like 3. whatever, if you want a specific version, but if you just want the latest and greatest, this is all you need to do to invoke the Node Package Manager to install ExpressJS. So go ahead and hit enter, and we will let this run. It will install a few things. Okay, now that that's installed, one way we can make sure that it is running on top of Node and all of its stuff, we can simply type in node, or excuse me, npm ls to list things out. Let me see if I can make this window a little bit bigger here. So here you can see at the top we have Express version 3.4.6 and its dependencies underneath. So this is the test to make sure that ExpressJS installed correctly. If you're a Visual Studio 2013 user, you'll be glad to know that there is now a tool specifically for Node.js within Visual Studio. The Node.js tool for Visual Studio, or NTVS, is an open source add-on that makes working with Node.js in Visual Studio 2013 even better. Being open source, NTVS was developed by the same folks that created the Python tools for Visual Studio, or PTVS for short. This included Bart Reed from Rugate and Dimitri from ClickBerry, as well as some others. One of the best parts is that they didn't attempt to emulate Node.js in Visual Studio. The Node.js you are seeing running is actually the Node.exe application. They didn't just stop there, because it also uses the V8 debugger and the V8 profiler as well. Visual Studio profile reporting tools can pull in the V8 profiler output for displaying further profile information. NTVS also allows the debugging to be local and remote. If that wasn't enough, you can publish your websites to the Azure websites or cloud services. Retrieving the Node.js tools for Visual Studio is actually pretty easy, just like installing ExpressJS and Node.js. To get the latest and greatest, we want to venture out to the Codeplex project, which is Microsoft's open source community for projects related to Microsoft things. So the URL that we want is node.jstools.codeplex.com. And that will take us to the main page for Node.js tools for Visual Studio. In here you can get a little documentation, you can watch a video on how things are working and other things for this tool. But right now all we want to do is download, and right now it's the 1.0 alpha for this project. And here is a 2013 version, and if you are using 2012, you can use it there as well. They did build it for you. But for this, we're going to use our 2013. So go ahead and click on that. Go ahead and click Run. It's a very, very small package. Just like anything else, we say I accept and click Install. Okay, now it's done installing. I will say that sometimes the alpha installs and it seems to hang on some spots, but it'll eventually install. So just wanted to let you know that. Go ahead and click Finish, and now we should have it installed. We can go ahead and close our browser and open up our Visual Studio 2013 or 2012 if you installed that particular package. So now we want to see it installed, so go to New Project or File, then New Project. And now we should have a node under the languages that says JavaScript. And here you can see we have several different template choices. The first one from Node.js code, or you could say actually just from the existing Node.js code. For instance, if you had an existing website like, I know the Ghost Blogger, the Ghost.js Blogger web template is available out there in the internet. So like for instance, you could say select that and then go select the Ghost.js blogging site, and it would basically reference the Ghost.js blogging site, pull in all those dependencies that you needed and those files from it, and create a new application from that. And all these other options you have are for creating actual applications. So for what we want to do right now, just to test this, we just want to select blank Express application, and we will just go dump it somewhere. So I actually have a folder. I'll make a apps. Right, select that folder. Express app 1 is fine. I guess I can have a directory. Doesn't matter. Go ahead and say OK. And now this prompt is basically saying I am running that package.json file, which is, well, it's JSON syntax, but it defines every dependency that this particular web application needs, which is very similar to how the package manager for Visual Studio works. The only difference is that runs outside of the actual web project and is part of the solution file. But here within a Node project, the package.json actually is part of the web application itself. So as you copy it around, it always knows that it needs to go out and grab those dependencies. So here it's asking if it has permission to go run the Node package manager or npm installation to go get those dependencies. And of course we want to say yes, or it's not going to work right. Go ahead and say OK to continue. It just had that prompt there in case you had to review anything that got installed. So here is our web app. Let me close the properties window and I will open up the solution window here. You can see that the Node package manager has downloaded and set up Express, the Jade template engine, which we'll get into a little bit later, and stylus, which is another dependency here. It already built our app.js file, which is kind of like the Node equivalent of a global.asax file within a Embassy or .NET, typical .NET project. Other things, we've got our views folders, which have our Jade templates. We've got our routes folders, which are specific JS files per each page that we want. Just kind of our normal hierarchy of our styles and JavaScript files and any images that we may load or need on our website. Here are all the modules. Again, matching with the package manager. We have ExpressJS and stylus. Down here at the very bottom is our actual package.json, which I mentioned before is nothing more than a JSON object telling it what to go grab for dependencies. So as your project evolves, say for instance you are using the newer version of Express or Jade or whatever, you can come in and change the actual versions very easily. Jade and Stylus here are grabbing the latest, where Express says I want 3.4.4, and here's the name and so forth, other little things like that. So it defaults us to the app.js file, and within this you can change it to kind of fit your site and what you need. So yes, so this is what you get out of the box. So now to test this, let's go ahead and click on our debugger, which by default is Internet Explorer 8080, or excuse me, Internet Explorer. It automatically created a support like it normally would in Visual Studio, and this is the default Express page. It's not as fancy as some of us are used to, like with ASP.NET MVC templates, or even the normal web forms templates where you actually have a mini website. This basically was just a blank ExpressJS website that kind of just gets you started, and so it kind of stubbed things out and lets you take it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and close this and close the Node.exe that was executed behind the scenes, and you notice that it automatically fired up Node. It was listening on port 5858, but the Express server was told to be listening on 1337, and the reason why is because the debugger actually is running on port 5858 while the main website was responding on the 1337. Let's go ahead and close that, which will get us out of debug mode, and you can change your ports and other default settings that you want within this app.js file. If you go to your Solution Explorer, you can actually take a peek at the index.jade, or the layout that the index actually inherits. And if you're not familiar with Jade templates, this is definitely going to be new. It's very abstract, and we will get into this in a little bit when we get into developing our Node.js application that has ExpressJS and Jade as well in it.